Hello, and we are live. For a change, I'm doing some live streaming on this channel. Usually, when I live stream on this channel, it's because I've panicked or because I'm doing something that I'm not sure about, or I'm just like throwing things at the wall and seeing if they stick. But on this occasion, it's a very important thing because Joe Albino Thunderbuns Fulton and Fultonland, his channel, is having its inaugural live stream, and that's between me and Joe. We'll be doing this every Thursday, but because of technical issues, we had to put it on my channel, and I'm not very good at streaming, so please, everybody, bear with me. So before we go anywhere, let's introduce Joe. Joe, who are you, and where can people find you?
Yeah, well, as you said, my name is Joe Fulton, and I am the founder and publisher of Outlier Comics, which is a newly announced comic book publishing company. And our first book, which I am writing and Russ is drawing, is called The Outliers. It's volume 1. It will be part of a 12-chapter introductory story arc that immerses readers into the Outlier Comics universe, which is a classic superhero capes and cowls type of. If you remember Marvel and DC from the 70s and 80s, what some of us like to call the Bronze Age of comic book history, where the stories were often fun, often had some drama in there, lots of action, bit of comedy, but most importantly, you could count on them being escapist entertainment. And they were basically written for adults, but they were safe for kids to read. And so that's one of the cornerstones of Outlier Comics, is that the stories are escapist entertainment, and they're all designed for all ages to enjoy, from ages 8 to 108. If you like comics, you're going to find stuff in the Outlier Comics universe to enjoy. So I'm very happy that we were able to start the first of our weekly live shows, which, as Russ said, was supposed to be hosted today on my channel, Fultonland, but due to technical difficulties, we called an audible on the field, and we went with a different play. Our first play was busted thanks to my my boomery ways, and so Russ graciously offered to host the show on his channel, which I gratefully accepted. So thank you, Russ. And
that's okay.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to where we go from here, and I'm going to be doing my boomery best to figure out how to use Photoshop and Adobe Premiere and Illustrator and all that good stuff, so that when people do check out Fultonland here over the next several days, there will be lots of pretty graphics and video and fun stuff. But in the meantime, we'll just do this redneck style. I don't know if in England you have the equivalent of rednecks, Russ, but out here, rednecks and hillbillies and other folks who wear cut off denim shorts and ratty tank tops and we tend to just kind of make the best with what we have, and we just try and have a good time doing it.
Yeah, there are plenty of people on this scepter dial that will eat roadkill, I assure you. Where's the usual place to find you, Joe? Your new channel?
Yeah, so the channel is called Fultonland on YouTube, Fultonland, and the publishing company Outlier Comics also has its own YouTube channel, but there's nothing on it yet. So when we do, like I said, when I've got some stuff to show on the channel in terms of graphics and whatnot, then I'll publicize that more. Russ and I are working on putting together production, kind of behind the scenes content for everybody. So we'll have pictures and videos of pencils, inks, colors, writing, editing, the whole 9 yards. We're going to make this process as transparent as possible so that people who are interested in how comics are made can get a front row seat. And whether that's somebody who's a reader who's interested in the process, or they're an aspiring pro and they'd like to see, if they could learn anything that helps them break into the business, or if they aren't quite ready to break into the business, but they are practicing their skills and doing their best to, get to that point one day where they do feel that they're ready to break in, then we hope that both Outlier Comics and Fultonland will be resources, and ComicBook BlackBelt as well, because Russ will be mirroring our content. Anything that Russ does for the Outliers book, and then future titles that Outlier Comics publishes, we're going to be putting that content on ComicBook BlackBelt, on Fultonland, on Outlier Comics. But the difference between my two channels is that Outlier Comics will be all business, in the sense that it's just going to be related to the comics that Outlier produces. On Fultonland, that's my personal channel, where I'm going to be doing a lot of different stuff. A lot of it will definitely be centered around the Outliers, and any other projects that Russ and I work on will definitely be showcased on Fultonland. But there will be a lot of other things there too, which I'm hoping will be a way to give people an entertaining experience, while also hopefully providing them with useful information that they can use to help improve their communication with other people, can help improve their storytelling skills, can help better understand from a human psychology and behavior perspective why people are the way they are, why they do the things they do, why in pop culture there's so much difficulty with people getting along for one reason or another. I'm also a history nut, so I do enjoy bringing up examples from history to help illustrate why we see things happening the way they are in current day. So, on Fultonland, it's going to be a combination of learning stuff, but in an entertaining way. And a lot of it is just going to be having fun chatting and interacting, with between the two of us on our live show, Russ. When I do recorded videos, I want to have fun with them, and I want people to have fun viewing them. And then I'm seeing all these great people in the chat. That
we'll also have some other creators on.
Yeah,
because obviously that's part of the learning experience, seeing what other people think. So having other people's projects, but not so much about their obviously we'll push their projects. Of course we will. We want to see everybody succeed. But it really sort of talking to them, their feelings about the world, the comic book industry and what have you. But hopefully not too deep. We'll have some fun with it, like Joe's saying.
Yeah, Bristolian Dave has it. He said, cool. So Outlier is the business stuff, and Fultonland is where all the fun happens. That's pretty much it. I really want to try to use the Fultonland channel as a more or less an intersection of trying to reach out to different areas of the internet and bring people over to what we're doing in the world of indie comics, and introduce them to this fantastic storytelling medium of comic books, which really different people argue about when they, the art of sequential storytelling first was created. And some go back to the late 1800s. They point at things like The Yellow Kid, which a lot of people who argue about comic book history, they say that was the first comic. Others point to works created in France or Belgium that go back even earlier. They argue back and forth, but quite frankly, you can go back to cave paintings thousands of years ago, and that's sequential art. It's people using pictures in sequence to tell stories. And so Russ and I both believe that storytelling is a core component of the human experience. And we're both, absolutely in love with storytelling as is a part of human life,
Yeah,
and you know, we're
as a cultural benchmark.
yes,
It's there for it connects people in all kinds of ways. It's not just about telling a story and then selling it to someone and them going, yeah, that's fun. It's about connecting with people. You connect very directly with people when you tell stories, and then when you read them or in take them in, consume them at the other end, you connect with the creators of those stories, just like the Neanderthals or whatever the ape men did when they scrawled that stuff on the wall about that lion they went and beat up, and I'm sure they made the lion a bit bigger to make it look a bit more, oh yeah, that lion was huge, and it only took me, it wasn't five of us,
right.
so and that's all part of it, that connection with everybody, and therein that's where why we're here. If you've already come to this channel, hopefully there's more people watching. If you've already come to this channel, this is my channel, ComicBook BlackBelt, and just as Joe says, this isn't so much I don't make a lot of commentary on this channel. Occasionally I make a comment which is not often popular, or politically correct, I must say, but most of the time I'm just shooting the breeze while I'm creating. So this channel is very much nuts and bolts about how I produce comic book art, how I produce comics, and any other stuff that I might get involved with. You'll find in the lists below, in the playlists, that I've done some things about Draw the Marvel Way and Ben 10 and putting together work for Doctor Who and what have you. So these are there's stuff down there that might even have the word tutorial in them. I don't like using that word. It's just an insight into the way I do things. So just like Joe was saying about the channels being instructive, that's what I hope to do with this channel as well, is that people can come here and see how I do things, and maybe they can learn something from that, and it's useful. And if they've got a better way to do it, please drop me a comment. Please tell me that there's a better way of doing it, and I'll certainly integrate that into my world. Talking of which, we can go straight to the shared stuff. There we go.
Great. Yeah, we on Michael Bancroft's channel a couple of days ago, we debuted the first public the first artwork that we made public to everybody. And so I'll just, as Russ shows the characters, I'll just give you guys, some background information and take your questions if there are any. We always welcome comments. So if you have constructive criticism, stuff you like, stuff you don't like, stuff you want to see differently, feel free to let us know, because we're absolutely committed to trying to do our very best to give customers what they want. And the best way for us to know what that is for you guys to let us know. So this first character is named David Santos. His code name is the Saint, and he is the flagship character for the Outlier Comics universe, much like Superman used to be for DC and Spider-Man used to be for Marvel. The Saint is also similar to Superman, kind of how Superman used to be the epitome of what a hero was supposed to be, or a superhero was supposed to be. That's the Saint, and that's his place in the Outlier Comics universe. So basically, his story is that he's a former Green Beret. Leroy asked, is there a time frame when we'll see colors on these character designs? Yeah, good question, Leroy. So Ink Spots, who's our colorist, right now he's on track to start working on coloring these specific turnarounds around the end of March. If something unexpected comes up that delays him a little bit, then it should be the beginning of April. But right now we're looking at the end of March. And believe me, as soon as he has finished colors on these turnarounds, we're going to publicize them. So you guys will get to see. Yeah, Dave, Ink Spots is the colorist. So we've got Russ drawing all the line work. We've got Ink Spots doing all the color work. Eric Weathers is the letterer, and I'm the writer. I'm kind of co-editing the book. I'm editing the art guys, and I include Eric with his lettering as part of the art team. because I really believe that lettering should complement the artwork, and it is an art in and of itself, in addition to being a skill, just like drawing great illustrations and laying down great colors on top of lines. It's a combination of art and skill. So I'll be editing the art team, and then I have a letterer that I hired separately who is going to be editing my writings specifically, and then she's also going to be editing the book in total. So she and I will basically be co-editing the book. I haven't announced her name yet, just because when I locked her in for the schedule, she was pretty sure that she was available, but wasn't quite sure. And so I have to touch base with her over the next few days and just make sure she's still on board. And if I can get that confirmed, then I'll be happy to introduce her to everyone on next Thursday's show, and let you guys know who that would be. But so to a couple of questions in the chat, El Gargoa says, who's Ink Spots? I'm not sure if that's a serious question or a joke, but in case it's a serious one, he is the colorist on Cash Grab for Cecil, and Charlie's London from East Lane to the Limelight,
which is a particularly beautiful book.
Yeah, and he's done work for Simon Sim Potier on Nat the Merc, and other books. I mean, he's got a lot of work out there. If you want to look him up on Twitter, his Twitter handle is @MyEvilRobot, and he's a world-class color artist, digital painter. He can draw. I mean, the guy really is a one-man wrecking crew when it comes to artwork, and I'm absolutely thrilled that I was able to get people of the caliber of Russ to draw the book, and Ink Spots to color it, and Eric to letter it. Okay, El Gargoa says, no, I'm not serious. Ink just whines about people not knowing who he is. Well, trust me, you guys will get sick of hearing me brag on Russ and Ink Spots and Eric before the year is out, because I absolutely love what these guys do, what they bring to comics, and so I'm going to be singing their praises often, I'm sure.
Oh, hiya, Ronnie. Sorry, I just saw. Sorry, somebody. I didn't mean to just speak out there.
Yeah.
So it's because
who'd you see?
I've completely lost my mind. It's just Ronnie turned up. Hiya, Ronnie's Crimson Owl Comics. Hiya, Ronnie. Just wasn't expecting to hear. But yeah, I'm really excited to be working with Ink Spots. He's a fantastic artist, and in fact, we've already spoken about Something for Only Death Can Save Us, book 2. So if you've seen any of the stuff recently that he's done for Sim, he's done like a sort of an acrylic or oil-like painting style over the top of Sim's pencils. Well, I want something like that for Only Death Can Save Us as a pin-up for the next book. I think I'm probably going to keep the covers me. And see if I can get hold of Mike Summers again to do the color, because there's a particular look to that. But I definitely want something special from Ink Spots for that, and also one other person as well that I'd like to get involved. And I'm thinking, I mean, it's a bit early yet because the writer's still in the process of going through my plot, but I think I'm going to be going the route of the first 100 people to back will get something, rather than going stretch goals, because I want to load it up front and make sure people get good stuff.
Nice. So, yeah, it's that all sounds good, man. And you're kind of, I mean, well, yeah, you and I are thinking along the same lines with Ink Spots doing like digitally painted stuff, because he's got he's got a range of styles that he can work in that, frankly, I scratch my head trying to figure out, how he does it all. But he and I have talked about the possibility of, well, I'll just let the guys in the chat know, Russ is going to be the cover artist for the Outliers books. So I know I never really was into variant covers, but I know that over the last few years, the indie comic scene, especially with the emergence of CG and the success of crowdfunding on Indiegogo and kind of the proliferation of variant covers, that's really changed my mind or changed my thinking in a particular way. Whereas in the mainstream, there's endless variant cover schemes that publishers run on retailers, trying to milk as much blood out of that stone as they possibly can. And retailers are stuck in this position where they have customers who want that retailer to get those particular variant covers, but if it's one of those situations where the retailer has to order 500 of the regular book just to get that 1 in 500 variant, and he has a whale that he knows will buy that variant cover, but then he's stuck with 500 books of this often unsellable issue. He wants to keep his whale customer happy because they spend $1,000 a month in the store, so that they're in this bind where they want to keep their their high dollar customers still coming in through the door, but they have to essentially waste all this money on unsellable product, so it costs them all that much. So anyway,
I think
don't
it's
go.
I think
ahead.
what's happened, what you're describing, what's happened there is it's been seen, and in fact is predatory practice, and because of that, it's given various variant covers a bad name. Variant covers in and of themselves are not a bad thing. It's the way that they're forced upon the retailers and the way that they're used. So for the occasional one in crowdfunding, which I've seen, I think they're great because they're not overdone, and the backer gets good value. On the flip side of that, we're shooting for something sort of akin to the Bronze Age in the modern world, and Bronze Age books didn't do that. I mean, I was almost tempted to put text on the front of my cover, actually speech bubbles, because I wanted to have that feel. But I kind of rode back a little bit from that and wanted to have a more slick look to the book. But there is something about those old covers. They were so action orientated and they told a story in their own way. And having a cover done by someone who's completely unrelated to the artwork inside the book, do a beautiful painted cover on the front, and often doesn't reflect any of the action within the book. Sometimes as a reader, this is not as a creator or appreciating what these people do, whether it's a backers campaign, whether it's an Indiegogo campaign or a crowdfunding campaign or whatever. As a reader, sometimes I felt a little cheated. I felt like, well, what the hell's that doing on the front of the book? Either it was covering for the interior art that was inferior, or the interior art was so great that I wanted that person on the front of the book rather than just another artist. But I know it's one of those subjects that everybody has many different opinions on. But I like the idea of being the cover artist on the book that I've done the sequentials for.
Yeah, well, and I really like that. It goes back to pretty early in the Bronze Age, where it was common for the interior illustrator to also illustrate the cover. And then I think it was more kind of in the middle to late era of the Bronze Age where they got more and more into having a different cover artist versus the interior illustrator. And so I really like having, hey, welcome, George. Glad you could join us. Good to see you.
George.
So I'm really glad that, I'm able to have an artist of, Russ's skill and experience, not just because he makes the interiors of the book look great, but I can also, very comfortably and confidently ask him to draw the cover. And the people who really like to see the cover art match the interior art, well, that's exactly what they're going to get. And I'm also happy to announce on this show for the first time that the Outliers Volume 1 will have a wraparound cover, and Russ will be drawing it. So for those who like those wraparound covers, that's what you're going to get with this book.
Oh yeah.
So actually, Russ, do you mind going back to the Saint for a
Oh,
second? Because I
sure,
just wanted to touch on Leroy's question about when we might start seeing these colored. And then I'll also touch on the point Leroy just made about the variant covers. So his costume is based on the colors of the United States flag. So his torso and trunks are going to be navy blue or close to it. Inkspots and I still have to settle on the final hues that the colors in his costume will be. Then the star on his chest will be white. And when it comes to his cowl, cape, boots, belt, and wristband, it's a combination of red and white. So you're going to get that really rich red that's in the U.S. flag. In the kind of the fat stripe of the belt and the fat stripes of the wrist cuffs, the cowl and outside of the cape will be red. The white stripes on the head of the cowl and the white stripe around the kind of the bottom of his collarbone area, that'll be a white stripe. And if you can see that the stripe goes down the cape vertically on the edges, so that'll be a white stripe that goes down. But the cape will, other than the white vertical stripes, will be a solid red. And then the inside of the cape will be a solid white. And then his boots will be red with white stripe details. And I'm not sure about the laces. Those might be red. Those might be white. We'll see what looks best when it's all colored up. So, yeah, so that's the Saint. Thanks, Russ.
That's all right. I'm going to rough cut.
Yeah, so I'm going to touch on the variant cover comment, and then we'll get into it with rough cut. Oh, thanks, George. Glad you like the boots. Yeah, and I just want to say that I came to Russ with fully created characters, and I had costumes essentially designed in my imagination, but I'm nowhere near a professional level artist, and I was really hesitant to even do thumbnail sketches because I really wanted to trust that whoever I hired, they were going to do a much better job than I would have if I tried to sketch it out. So I was really happy during the pre-production process when we were coming up with the looks of these characters that I was able to just give Russ a verbal description of what the character looks like in my imagination. And then he puts it on the page, and every time he added something to it, and he improved and really brought to life what I had imagined. So I'm thrilled with these character designs, and I hope you guys enjoy them as well. So about the variant covers, just to wrap up that point, is that so in the mainstream, we often see these predatory variant scheme practices involving publishers and retailers. And unfortunately, Diamond Distribution is often involved in it as well. But with the indie scene, what I really like, and especially with crowdfunding in particular, is that I saw a boom in the variant cover element of crowdfunding, but there was nothing shady or unethical or just plain unaffordable, quite frankly, for people who were trying to buy the books. With indie comics, and especially with crowdfunding, it's basically if customers want variant covers, then they buy them. If they don't want variant covers, they don't buy them. And one of the things that really surprised me as a backer before I got into publishing was that the customer demand for variants was so high. And at the time, I remember thinking, well, I don't really understand why that is. I mean, almost always, in my opinion, the main cover is the best one and blah, blah, blah. So I just didn't understand it. But over time, I did get to understand that it's a totally different dynamic where customers can say, hey, we love variants, so if you make them, we'll buy them. And so then the publisher, in this case, like myself, for example, I'm planning to have Russ do the main cover, and then I'm thinking about doing a thematic variant cover, which is similar to the Graveyard Shift one, where it's like a black background, and then you got this cool looking Graveyard Shift logo. And each volume, the logo is in a different color. So if you collect all the Graveyard Shift books, you've got this nice set on your bookshelf, and the different colors tell you which volume it is. A good question, George. So the initial plan was to do a digital version of the style guide and give it out to everyone for free, and I'm still going to do that. But when it comes to producing a physical book and offering it either as a standalone product or as a supplemental, like as a whether it's an add-on that you can do in your campaign, or offered as a stretch goal reward, something like that, I haven't gotten that far down the road yet, but I'm very open to it as a possibility. And one thing I like to say is that if there's enough customer demand for something, then I want to explore the possibility of making it. So really, it will just come down to customer demand, what it costs to produce, and then I can go from there and give a more specific answer at that time.
But something that both Joe and I are extremely passionate about, and you'd think this would be the case for every creator and every crowdfunder, but it happens in varying levels. But the most important thing is the person that gets the book in their hands at the end of the day, and that they're happy with what they've got. Not just happy, but they feel like they've been given something special.
Right.
So and it for all kinds of reasons, you want people to feel that way about the book. Whether it's it's not just about the connection via the story; it's the fact that they feel like they've got something special, a special product. So everything's driven towards that. So any kind of response you get, that you work it back into the next campaign, you work it back into the next book. I haven't had any specific suggestions yet, but I've had some fantastic responses to Only Death Can Save Us, and it just makes me want to make another book. It just, I mean, Joe's stopping me from making another book.
Only temporarily, though.
Only temporarily will save us. So I'm on this, and I'm very passionate about this. Joe got hold of me while I was at the end of the campaign last year, starting to get things printed up, and we started discussing the books and discussing the story, and then we went on to do some designs on a regular sort of weekly basis. We met up while I was working on Only Death, and I've been completely hooked by it because I was trying to explain it to someone earlier on Indie Vault. It's like from Hell's Kitchen all the way out to the vast stretches of the cosmos. It's like it's everywhere in between, and it's got that real pantheon of heroes that DC and Marvel had back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. It's just, I'm eager to get onto pages. I've got to finish up some turnarounds. We'll go through these turnarounds. We've got a couple more to show you today that weren't shown on Michael's show the other day, which we're very pleased with. But we've got some more of those, and I should be starting pencils on pages the end of this month when Inkspot starts the colors on the turnarounds. So I'm completely committed to that. I'm really enjoying doing it so far. Absolutely gagging to get to some pages, and then once I'm done with that, we've got to be talking 3.5 months. I'll then be starting up on my book, and that'll go into campaign in the summer sometime. But yeah, it's just like the whole concept it just sits exactly where I want to be doing things. So really enjoying it so far. Got to fly. See you, Stat.
Love hearing that. Have a good one, Stato.
Thanks for turning up.
So to answer Leroy's question, yes, we are going to show you new character today. We're going to talk a little bit about the ones we showed on Michael's show, but we're also going to debut a new character that you guys have not seen yet. And Russ and I both, this guy is a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to showing that off in a few minutes here. To George's question, Russ draws both digitally and traditionally. Oh, hey, Amanda. Thanks for joining us. Glad you could make it. Good to see you. So George, Russ draws both digitally and traditionally. For the Outliers specifically, he's drawing pencils digitally, and then he's doing traditional ink work over that. So I'm happy to say that in the campaign, there will be original art pages for sale.
You can find out more about that on the channel. There's a first initial vlog or production journal, as it were, for Outliers that I put on the channel today here at ComicBook BlackBelt, and that talks about the digital pencils and just how I put things together. And there'll be another video up real soon where you'll be able to see a sped up version of me finishing pencils, digital pencils, and also some traditional inks over the top of those pencils. So you can see exactly how the thing works.
Leroy, your question about Battle Brick Road, I'm not sure if Eric is doing traditional pencil work or digital pencils. I don't remember.
I was on Indie Vault earlier on. If any of you guys out there, you want to go listen to some fun programs, go over to Indie Vault. They got their heads screwed on properly. But I was on there earlier, and I was talking about this, and talking about the fact that people like Kirby and Steranko would mess about with mediums. So they'd use photocopies and photography and what have you, and stick that into their work. And they did that because that was what the technology was at the time. If they had digital technology now, they would be using it in some form or another. I love the idea of traditional artwork, but there's so many advantages to using the digital process. So being able to getting rid of effectively the use of my my light box and all the photocopying and backwards and forwards that you do when you put pages together traditionally, I found myself being able to get some really tight pencils, and I really do enjoy the digital inking, and you can see that hopefully in Only Death Can Save Us. But I also wanted to find another way to add some more energy and life in, and that's why I decided to start doing some traditional inks. And I'm having a blast doing it, I have to say. So being able to use that mixed medium backwards and forwards. So once they're done, they then get scanned in, and if there's any minor changes, we can do that digitally as well. So you're really using the full gamut of both versions, both traditional and digital production techniques, and getting exactly what you want out of it.
Yeah, and for people who like to buy original art, such as myself, and I believe George as well, with the traditional ink work, you get to see the whiteout. You get to see the actual human hand at work in the lines and all those little details. And then, so when you have a book that's produced and it's been cleaned up digitally, I love looking at my original artwork and then looking at the finished book and saying, yeah, everybody gets to have this book, but I get the one and only copy of that original page.
Yeah, yeah, you get the best of both worlds effectively. And that's where I've been. I mean, I've got like a 20-year lag behind people of the same age of me who've been drawing comics since 1990 or whatever it is, 1980. I as I've mentioned before, I was accepted into Marvel 94, 95 by the new talent manager. But unfortunately, it just didn't go anywhere for me, and I went off and had a career doing whatever I was doing, and came back to it in 2010. So I've got that lag that I haven't been doing it every day. I haven't been gaining those kind of skills that I wanted, and so 2010 to now, I've kind of condensed it all in. I managed to be able to throw myself at comic book art and do it every day, which is the only way to really, really get good at something, is to do it every day. So I was fortunate from that perspective, and I've built up my digital skills, and then now I've transferred back out into the real world with traditional inks. That said as well, brush technology has come along. Brush pens are so much better than they used to be, and so my crappy handwork ends up being not bad at all, because I've got so much more control over the brushes that I'm using. So yeah, really enjoying the process of doing lots of different things.
I love it. I love hearing happy artists talk about the art that they're making. Never gets old for me. So this guy, for those in the chat, this guy's I'm just going to give you his code name for now. His name's Rough Cut. And he's kind of like, if people who are familiar with The Punisher, Frank Castle, and his origin story, imagine if somebody like Frank Castle had some tragedy happen in their life and they kind of snapped, but instead of having just a sliver of, good old-fashioned heroism in them, they didn't have that. So this is a guy who had a really, really difficult time. He kind of snapped. And hey, Aria, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate you. Good to see you. So imagine if somebody like Frank Castle, but without that, sliver of heroism, went through a really difficult time and just kind of snapped and decided he was going to get back at one particular person specifically, but also kind of the world in general. And so this is a guy who worked as a test engineer at a big R&D company, and he had taken some stuff that he was testing in the labs. He had taken it home because he was trying to work at home, and I'll get more into his story later. I'm just giving you some highlights now. And he was working from home with some of this equipment, but the company didn't know it. Hey, William, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So
yes, you are.
You've been promoted against your will, Leroy. Congratulations. So he got laid off, or fired, and the company didn't know that he had this stuff at home, so he just kept it. And it was this high-tech R&D company that he used some of their stuff, and then he combined it with just stuff he could put together himself. So this is the first iteration of him as this, kind of vigilante guy. And he is going to tangle with one of the outliers in very specific ways throughout the story arc. And we're probably going to see a glimpse of Rough Cut in Volume 1. But he will be a very pivotal antagonist for one of the main outliers that you guys will get to meet in Volume 1. So one of the reasons why I decided to include him in the style guide is, one, I just think he's a very cool character, but two, I think it gives a good example of when Russ was talking about how the Outliers universe has everything from street level city stuff all the way out to outer space stuff. This is a good example of one of those street level characters who doesn't have any superpowers at all, but he ends up getting classified as one of these outlier people who are doing, bizarre and superhuman type stuff just because he's able to take advantage of some technology and incorporate it into his kind of personal crusade. Yes, Leroy, he is definitely one of your preferred personality types. Rough Cut is an a-hole. So I see we're starting to get a little bit close to the 1 hour mark, and we don't want to try and keep you guys too long. So I'm just gonna kind of briefly touch on this character who we saw on Bancroft's show a couple nights ago. I'm not going to give her real name, but her code name is Misperception. and I'll put it in the chat here. That's how it's spelled. And she was, prior to acquiring her superpowers, she was a stage magician, and basically a very, very good one. After she developed her superpowers, then she was recruited to join the government team called the Outliers. And the book that we're going to be crowdfunding is focused on that team specifically. So in the world of the Outlier universe, the term outliers is applied to basically everybody that has superhuman powers or can do superhuman things through the acquisition of technology or other means. So, superpowered people like the Saint or like Misperception, they're classified as outliers. But then you also get people like Rough Cut, who is able to do stuff that the average person can't do through his use of technology. He would also be classified as an outlier in general if it's a government agency that's talking about these people. But then you have the very specific team, which is what our book is going to focus on, led by the Saint. And this is a team of people who work for the U.S. government, at least in book one. Whether or not they will work for the U.S. government for the entirety of the story arc remains to be seen. However, they are a very specifically selected group of people. And so for the government agency that employs them are essentially referred to as, quote unquote, the outliers, capital T, capital O, because it refers to a very specific group of people. So she can create illusions. Both she can make people believe something is real when it's not, but then she can also make somebody believe that something is not real or it doesn't exist when it does. So, for example, if you're walking down the street and there's a massive massive Great Dane, let's say, let's make it a big dog, a massive Great Dane, and you have a phobia of dogs, she could make you think that that dog is a kitten, or she could make you think that that dog's not even there. She basically hides that dog from your awareness. She gives you the illusion, the perception that there's just a car. There's no dog inside the car. So those are her powers, and I see that people are admiring her physique. I'm glad. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah.
We're
not going to make all people look the same.
No.
Everybody's got a different feel to them and different anatomy, rather than just carbon copies in different suits.
Yep, exactly. And I'm really excited to see what ink spots and I come up with for her colors. I have some ideas, but I'm going to defer to the master ink spots on some of these color choices. So when I see it actually on the page, then we'll make some final decisions.
Right.
But let's Russ, let's go to our new character that nobody's seen yet.
Yeah, let's do it. Where are we? Right, so this is his normal form.
Yeah, so this is Terence Hightower, and he's a very grumpy 50-something gentleman who generally has a bad attitude, even though he is at heart a good guy. And he's basically a cranky old fart for reasons that will be explained throughout the course of the story. No, William, she actually is hot, just to put your mind at ease. I won't. Now, what I will say is that the way that you perceive her may or may not be her actual appearance, but I will say that her actual appearance is hot. So Terence here.
Just quick. Thanks, Pancho. By the way, thank you for subbing, and thanks for that. It's great. I hope you enjoy the series.
And thanks for joining us, Pancho. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
she is hot. She's got a great ass. Sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
She is hot. So Terence is this cranky old fart who gets recruited to join the Outliers. He is part of the team, just like the Saint is and Miss Perception is. And Terence's superpower is that when he experiences pain, either pain or a rush of adrenaline, it triggers a transformation.
Do you want me to show that?
Yeah, let's see what he looks like when he's in his massive form.
Still smoking.
Still smoking. He's still got that stogie. So when he experiences pain or a rush of adrenaline, his body transforms into this, may I say, hulking figure, about 8 feet tall. As you can see, extremely muscular and strong. But unlike characters such as the Hulk or Superman, who just have ridiculous amounts of overpowered strength, Terence, he is incredibly strong in his massive form, but it's not, lift the Empire State Building over his head and throw it to the moon type of strong. You guys will find out, kind of what the limits of his strength are. George, is that when she tries to turn the thermostat down or when she tries to turn it up? Do you like the cold weather or do you like the warm weather? So Terence, and he's also not invulnerable like the Hulk or like Superman. Terence can be harmed. He does have resistance to injury, and a much higher resistance than the average human being when he's in his massive form, but he's certainly not invulnerable. He can still be hurt. He can still be killed. For example, if he was in his massive form and somebody shot him with a 50 caliber rifle in the heart, he would die.
Yeah, he's not just going to shrug off a bullet like the Hulk does.
No, I mean, if he gets shot with a 22, it'll make him angry. It's not going to kill him. He'll probably have a bruise, and he'll be extra grumpy the next morning if he's shot with a 22. But you shoot him with a high powered sniper rifle in the heart, and you're going to drop him like a sack of potatoes. So there's a nice little side by side.
That's the initial sketch.
Yeah, that was our first concept sketch. And I really like this guy. For anybody who has watched the show Sanford and Son, the old American TV show, if you can imagine Fred Sanford as the Incredible Hulk in terms of size, that's basically Terence Hightower. And one of my favorite things is that his code name, I hope, Leroy, that you'll appreciate this. So his last name is Hightower, right? Terence Hightower. His code name is High T, and it's a bit of a play on words, obviously, with Hightower and High T, but it's also a bit of a play on Terence's normal form, because when he's in his normal form, he thinks he's High T. He acts like he's got High T, but in his normal form, he's really not. He's a middle-aged, grumpy old fart. Yes, William, that's exactly right. That is what he's impervious to in his normal form. He doesn't put up with nonsense, and he doesn't suffer fools. So, oh, Amanda, if you want to put love hearts in the chat, go for it.
That's fine. It's all good.
Well, so basically, and welcome Matthew Fowler. Thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it. And Jim Cox too. Thanks for joining, guys. Love seeing you here. So when he's transformed, that's High T. That's his code name, and he gave it to himself, of course. He's definitely got a very high opinion of himself, but he's frequently humbled, and usually in front of other people, so that makes him even crankier. So yeah, that's the new character for you guys. It seems like you guys like him. I'm happy to see that. Russ and I certainly like him as well, and I can promise you that you're going to get to see High T and the Saint and Misperception. They're all going to be featured heavily in book 1. And I think that's about it as far as character stuff for today, Russ.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've got some more on the drawing board. We've got 2 more characters coming, and then obviously another 3 on top of that, because we've got the initial first 10 turnarounds. Got some other stuff to do, and then we'll be on to the pages at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
If I show, so the art style is going to be a bit looser than this, effectively. Mm-hmm. So this is a page from the backup story, which will be in book 2 of Only Death Can Save Us, but it will be color, and also it's going to be in black and white in the Arrow Comics 4.0 Indie Revolt book, which is
nice.
It's like a showcase, an anthology for people. Mm-hmm. So you can see the kind of art style I'm sort of edging towards, but it will be a little bit freer than this, because I'll be doing it traditionally. So
yeah, and we're also
obviously no gray tones either. That's just for this.
Yeah. Hey, Jacobus, thanks for joining the show.
Jacobus.
Yeah. So yeah, with regards to style, as Russ was mentioning, he is really impressing me as we've been talking over the months about the kind of look that I want for the Outliers, and the look that I think that it really does need if we're going to kind of recapture the spirit of Bronze Age comics. It's one of those things where Russ and I both agree 100% that we really miss. Hello, Marv. Good to see you.
Marv.
Thanks for joining the show. Both Russ and I both agree 100% that the fun and excitement and the energy that was in the air when we were growing up and we were reading comics in the 70s and 80s, the good old fashioned Marvel and DC superhero stuff. We don't see it in the modern mainstream industry, and we quite frankly we miss it, and we want to bring it back. And that's the whole point of me creating Outlier Comics and the Outlier universe specifically. I have other ideas for other franchises down the road, but for the foreseeable future, it's all Outliers all the time for me as a publisher.
The bizarre thing was that we both came to it at the same time. So I bought out Only Death with exactly the same perspective on where comics were and why I loved the comics I did. And that's why we were a natural fit. And Joe saw what was happening, very kindly backed the campaign along with others, 216 other backers. Thank you so much, everybody. And that it kind of got us together. That it's that love of proper comics, I suppose you could call it, from our perspective. That's not, I'm very much I'm a free speech advocate. I feel that everybody should be able to do whatever they want. And if you don't like it, then don't buy it. But there is a lot of crap out there at the moment, and there wasn't back in the day. There was a percentage of rubbish, there always is, but so many of the titles were of such a great quality, and that's what we both wanted to bring to to Outliers, what I wanted to bring to Only Death Can Save Us, and then the two of us together can bring to Outliers. So hopefully I'm going to be bouncing backwards and forwards between Outliers and Only Death Can Save Us. And that will, and to the question of where was it? God, we've got so many chats while I was talking. With all of your alternate inspiration, are you considering newsprint, Joe?
Yes, I absolutely am. I'm not just considering it, I'm committed to it. So I haven't had any conversations with Alterna yet, any formal conversations. I have made it quite clear. I've made my intentions known to Mr. Peter Cimetti, Alterna's publisher and founder, that I do want to print our stories on newsprint. So the idea is that each crowdfunded premium graphic novel will be, top quality in every way that we can manage with the time and the funding that will become available to us through customer support. Whatever that ends up being, we're going to give the absolute best product. And because I'm funding the production of the book out of my own pocket, and we're getting the work done ahead of time, I'm willing to. I think I said on Mike Bancroft's show that I'm in for a 5-figure sum to get this thing made in, just premium materials, premium talent in the team members. I'm really going all out to make this thing look like $1 million when customers receive it. And regardless of how many backers we have, every backer will get what they pay for. It doesn't matter if the campaign funds or not. I'm sending everybody what they pay for.
I think if you're not, if you're not Keanu Reeves or even EVS or people like that, and you can't turn over millions, you've got to see crowdfunding as a part of the business plan. And what you do with that part of the business plan. The other part of the business plan is floppies, is trying to get it out to new markets, because we're all here trying to create new markets, as in we want as many eyes on a story as we possibly can. And by giving the best product possible to your backers, by giving them the premium, by giving them the red carpet treatment, they get everything before anyone else gets it. They get it in the best possible quality, and then you allow it out again, in lower quality, but for a mass market. Everybody wins. Everybody gets something special out of it. And on top of that, success goes from one book to the next. And if you can just drive that success up far enough, then it's amazing what you'll be able to give your backers. I was able to give my backers so much more than I thought I would at the start. Thought I would be able to at the start, and was able to drop things into the packages. It's only really the postage, that stops you putting even more in those packages. So, it's important that we give the crowdfunding audience the best possible product, and then from there, if we move out into floppies, then all well and good. It means that more people are involved, more people enjoy the franchise, and in actual fact, those books that those loyal backers or those trusting backers bought in the first place become that much more valuable later on down the line if they're collectors, because they're a restricted number. They're not like, touch wood, it would be lovely to have 20,000 floppies out. but you know what I mean? If you had multiple thousands of floppies out there, they're not going to be valuable at all. But your backers know that they got that premium, red carpet quality product right at the start, and how much more value it will keep along the way. So, I think that's a good model to be moving forward with for lots of people. To be honest, there's some cracking products out there at the moment. I've got a pin up with Perfect 10 and the Embrace. Thank you guys for asking me to do that. I was very humbled by that. Perfect 10. I mean, the Embrace looks good, but I have to say I've got a soft spot for Perfect 10 in several soft spots. It's a fantastic book. I just love the array of bad guys it's got in it, which is much like with Outliers, where I was so impressed with Outliers because it was such a broad range of characters. And there are just superb quality products out there, and I think you have to build those business models right in order to make everybody get, you know, the quality that they deserve.
Yeah.
And you are right, the 1980s was the best decade in comics ever.
I agree.
Although I do have some very tender spots for the 70s.
Same here. For sure.
Thank you, Jim. I'm hoping so.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
Thank
it
you,
really
Jim.
means a lot. And believe me, we're going to be doing everything in our power to not let anybody down. I know it's impossible to please everybody, but we're going to try anyway. We're committed to it.
Have we got somebody that makes funny noises as well that we can put in?
Yes.
Hightower is a reference to the Police Academy series character. That would be funny.
I don't know that we'll get exactly a Michael Winslow type character. He's the guy who was like the human beatbox who did all the effects with his mouth and his hands. But I can definitely. I have a character who has the potential to do that sort of thing. He's kind of a although he's one of the outliers, although he's a superhero, there's a character who's kind of like the bane of Terence Hightower's existence, and vice versa. They're kind of like an odd couple within the team, and you guys will probably get to see that character next week on next week's show, actually, which we'll have on Fultonland. So next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Hey, Rob, welcome. Thanks for joining.
This is a good question, and it's actually something we discussed early on, because you spoke about having different coloring for different paper.
Yeah. So originally, I had wanted to try and basically pioneer a new coloring style that would work equally well for premium paper stock and for newsprint. But when I was talking with InkSpots about it and we were doing color tests, it became very clear to both of us very quickly that it was not going to be doable, not for what we were trying to accomplish. So what we are doing is we have a particular coloring style for the premium paper, and we have a different coloring style for the newsprint. And the way that we're maximizing our time and, frankly, my money is that we've got a process outlined, and InkSpots and I are going to hammer out the details on this here when he starts coloring. But basically, what we have it figured out is that the newsprint coloring style will be flats. Flat color with a little bit of embellishment, kind of like if anybody got Only Death Can Save Us. It's very, very close to what Russ did there, where he went with kind of an upgraded version of the old flat coloring style from Bronze Age comics. So we're going to do something similar to that, but it's going to be optimized for newsprint paper. And InkSpots will kind of do that as his first step in the coloring process, save the files, kind of put them to the side for when we do newsprint printing. But then InkSpots will kind of continue to build upon that. That's kind of like his first step for the coloring for the premium paper. So then what you see on the premium paper stock is going to be basically a fusion of the old Bronze Age coloring with today's modern technology and coloring techniques. So it should give you a sense of familiarity of the old Bronze Age comics from the 70s and 80s, but also it should look like $1 million on that premium paper. So if you look at a book like Cash Grab or Charlie's London, you can see examples of colored pages on those campaigns on Indiegogo. In Outliers, it won't be as fancy or as tricked out as that, but the quality of the coloring will be just as high.
Hi, Black Rose. I just saw that comment. Sorry, I'm just flipping down the comments. Somebody
Oh yeah.
made a comment about digital. So,
Oh
what are your views on digital?
yeah. So I personally am not a fan of digital comics. I don't buy them, but I do respect that a lot of people do buy them, and that there are a lot of people who love them, and that there are some readers who only read digital. I'm not, when it comes to publishing the 12 chapter story arc, I'm not excited about the prospect of publishing that in digital format, at least initially. However, I do really want to reach out to the digital only readers. And I also especially want to try and go the extra mile for backers who live in a place like Australia, where the shipping is absolutely ridiculous to get from the United States over to Australia. So I'm doing two things to try to reach out to those kind of international backers. Uh, One is I'm exploring options for getting lower international shipping rates. It's very difficult, but I believe it is possible. So that's one thing, for people that get the printed version of the book. The second thing that I'm doing for those backers, and then also the digital only readers, is I'm not going to go into all the details today. I will when we're closer to campaign launch, and I'll definitely go into detail about it when we're in the pre-launch phase, where we're really trying to promote specific things for the campaign. But what I will say is this. Um, I will be offering some digital content at no charge to absolutely everybody. So that's the answer for now. When we get into the pre-launch phase, I'll get into a lot more detail about that. And it's I think I can safely say that the people who get to people who enjoy digital content, I think will really enjoy what I have to offer with the Outliers. People who are not into digital content, they can take it or leave it. And then people who are print only, they're going to get a fantastic looking book and a fantastic read, if I can be so bold.
Yeah. I can understand digital. And some people, I had a couple of people say to me, "Oh, you're missing out on the market, not doing digital." But I just personally, I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to have a physical book, and it was part of the whole what we were talking about earlier about getting premium. But I understand why people do digital, because obviously it some people can't afford it.
Right.
And it is good to get that out there. In fact, it's not so much that, because I do appreciate that aspect of it. The thing that concerns me is pirating, because as soon as you put it into a PDF, that's it.
So I guess I can give a couple additional details without giving away the big surprise. I'll say that the digital content that I'm going to make available free of charge for anybody who wants it will have complete stories. So that's one thing. I hope people will appreciate that. The other thing I can say is that I have given serious thought to the idea that after the 12 chapter story arc is completely published, in however many volumes that takes, because it'll really depend on customer backing to dictate how big I can make these books. The first one, I initially wanted to make a 4 chapter volume 1. It was going to be 96 pages of main story. But I was convinced to bring it down.
No, death would definitely not be saving us then.
So that's a little thing to remember for the future, Russ. I'd like to do bigger books in the future, and we can talk offline about that.
We can talk about that, yeah.
But
yeah.
So I, for this initial book, it's 48 pages of main story, chapter 1, chapter 2. Every chapter is 24 pages, beginning, middle, and end, and then it'll have plot threads and subplot threads that extend into additional chapters. But each chapter is a self-contained story in addition to those other plot elements. So there's chapter 1, chapter 2, and then I would love to do 8-page origin stories for some of the main characters in each volume. I'd really love to start out with the 8-page origin story of the Saint, and with those, the origin stories would not be an entire origin; it would be a partial telling of the character's origin. So, like with the Saint, I'd love to do an 8-page story where we see kind of the moment where something happens which activates his superhuman abilities, and do that in an 8-pager. And it would be a complete let me think how to put this. The setting of it would be entirely different from the main story. So you really are getting a completely different story, even though it's heavily tied into the main story.
I think we'll definitely be closing in on 60 pages a strip. And it depends on what, if you get the backup story in there, you'll be like 56 pages. So we'll be closing in on 60 pages. I don't know what else you want to put into the book. I mean, my book easily filled up. I had 60 pages of strip, and I got to a 96-page book with the extra content that I put in, and it didn't feel like I just padded it. I had to cut some stuff out because I didn't want to make it any bigger. But yeah, there's always more you can put in, and I'll definitely be a good read.
Yeah, I would like to do some back matter material. And again, that will just, how much of it really depends on customer backing and interest. And, if we can crowdfund additional pages and even bring it up to something like 72 pages, because that's what people want, where they get, let's say 2 8-page origin stories and then 4 pages of back matter, where maybe we do like a fan art contest and the winner gets featured in the book.
Yeah, that kind of thing. There's some great ideas going on at the moment. Like I was saying about the Embrace and Perfect 10 and the fact that they're doing crossover stuff with a pin-up I did.
Right.
And then, people doing fan art competitions and all that kind of stuff. And just getting your backers involved, getting the audience, the people that we talk to every day, getting them involved, and that way people feel, like I was saying, they get a premium product, but they also feel like they're part of it, which is the whole point of backing in the way that you do crowdfunding, is about being part of it.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And then we can move on from there.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is that for whatever back matter we have in the book, I want there to be a very heavy customer interaction component to it. So basically, I want
the mainstream aren't doing.
Exactly. Thank you. So it would basically be, me saying to the potential backers, what do you guys want to see in the back of the book? Do you want a fan art gallery? Do you just want to see like the winning piece of fan art if we do a contest? Do you want to see behind the scenes process? Like, do you want to see concept sketches from early on and then see how we progressed from the very first concept sketch of a character like High T to like finished pencils and inks and colors that are going into the style guide? I really want to put it out there to potential backers and then let them tell us what they want, and then we'll see what the page count is and how much money we need to be able to fit it all in there.
All right. Down the bottom, I'm in the southeast of England, but northeast of London. There you go, near a town called Colchester, not far from there, but I'm in a little village out in the sticks. There you go. I love the way the colours pop on digital, but find it very tiring to read. Yeah, it is. Yeah, did we straight back to the Stan Lee quote, which is very politically incorrect, but often true. comics are like boobs. They look great on a digital screen, but damn, they feel better in your hands. That I'm paraphrasing.
It's true. Can't argue with that.
Can't argue with the Stan, can you? Can't argue with the Stan. Jedi mind. What's this? I don't know if I'm being. Yeah, I don't know if I'm being Jedi mind by Joe, or it's giving me everything I want. yes, we are giving you what you want, hopefully, because we're fans too. Because we've been buying.
Yeah.
I mean, if you, I don't know whether people can see it or not, but my record on Indiegogo, I've bought stuff from Kickstarter as well. There's some. I have had some good books from there, but my Indiegogo list is as long as your arm, and there are a few unfortunate projects on there that I do not have yet, and that's something else that both of us are very passionate about, which is why Joe has decided to wait some time before we go to a campaign. Is that people get their stuff when they say that when you say you're going to get it to them. I know this is crowdfunding, this isn't publishing in quite the same way, and I understand that people have problems, and as long as you're transparent on your campaigns, I think most people are pretty laid back about it and don't mind. But for me personally, I've been in the real world. So I've done a proper job, but just like Joe has done. Okay, I haven't drawn comics my whole life, and as far as I'm concerned, if there's a schedule, you meet it.
Yeah.
And if you've promised things to people, you make sure they're there as close as possible, as humanly possible. I was disappointed with myself because the last I've obviously sent out more books while I've been in demand, but the last book I sent out from my initial 184 backers was a few days into February, and I'd said I wanted it in January, and I crucified myself for that. I was not happy. It wasn't my fault.
Right.
Joe knows the reasons.
Yeah,
why
I know the story. Yeah,
and it was absolutely not my fault, but that doesn't make any difference. I'm the one that's promised it for Jan. So even though I was only a couple of days late, I wasn't happy about that. So it's very important for the two of us to have things done on time. And also, if people are getting a book once, twice a year, they get into a rhythm, and they want to see that book return. So it's important to commit and to make sure you meet those commitments. And that's why Joe's doing exactly the right thing, and sort of building up some interest as well early on to say, look, this is what we're doing. Be part of it before we even request that people might actually give us some money. Just be part of it, and that's the great thing about that audience participation that Joe's talking about.
Yeah, and I'm, as part of the commitment that I'm making to deliver great art, great stories, and great customer service.
Glad to have you, Ashen.
Yeah, hey Ashen Jackal, good to see you.
Appreciate everyone turning up. Thank you for being here.
Thank you everyone for joining the show. We're really excited about doing this every week.
And we're over time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just noticed that.
We've been chatting away.
How much longer do we have before you need to shut this party down?
Oh no, I mean I can stay on for a little while longer. I just
okay.
So as long as everyone's happy to to listen to us blather on.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, if they want to get us out of here, then the chat can kick us. So I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. So what I was saying is that as a way to show customers, our potential customers, I should say, since we don't have a campaign yet, our commitment. Hey, Skip, good to see you. Glad you could join us.
Kick Rob.
So as part of our commitment, me as a publisher, and then the team members that I'm working with to produce the very best work that we can, and also to provide the best customer service that we can in a company. Because at Outlier Comics, the company culture that I'm trying to establish right off the bat is that we all are going to pursue excellence in our particular specialty that we're bringing to the table, but then we all are also committed to pursuing excellence with customer service and customer interaction, and that I'm only going to try to bring people on board our projects who subscribe to those ideals. So I don't have to lay awake at night as a publisher wondering if one of the freelancers on a particular project is going off on, potential customers, cussing them out and yelling at them and telling them why they're, evil so and so's. If I bring in the people who are against that, then as a publisher, I don't have to worry about how's this going to affect the project, how's this going to affect the company, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the ways that I hope that you guys will enjoy getting to know Russ and I in a professional capacity is that each day this week, we've been starting on Tuesday. It will continue at least through Friday, maybe through Saturday. I'll see how it goes. Got a lot of irons in the fire right now, but this first week that we're kind of making everything public, we're releasing new art and story details every day. And then by the time we hit the weekend, I've let Russ know that we're going to release something new in the way of artwork and possibly in the way of story. I haven't decided yet, but at least once a week, every single week until the campaign launches, whenever that is. I mentioned on Michael's channel that I want to have a realistic but confident estimate that we can expect a minimum of 500 people to back the book before launching the campaign. And the reason for that, as opposed to picking a specific day on the calendar, is that I'm investing a whole lot of money up front to get the company off the ground and to get Outliers Volume 1 published. And I don't want to get stuck in a position where I launch the project and I might get my stated funding goal met, but I don't get enough to cover all of my expenses. Because then where does that leave me for Project 2? Well, then I'm in the red, and then I have to go even further in the red to get Project 2 made. So what I would prefer to do is hold off on announcing a campaign launch date until we've got a big enough audience and specifically enough backers who are committed to buying Outliers Volume 1. Then I can say, oh, okay, we're at 400 backers, and on this pace, I can expect that in 3 months we'll hit 500 backers, and that's a conservative estimate. So, okay, Russ and Inkspots and Eric, now let's have a meeting, and we're going to talk about our pre-launch strategy, and then we start, really getting into the weeds of building the campaign page and having a launch date and all of that sort of stuff. But we want to make sure that the audience is in place first.
Yeah. And also that's got a dual purpose there of, when you've got your first campaign, I think it's important to have most of the work done before you go to your crowdfunder campaign, so that people can see. There's a term in business called sweat equity.
Yep.
And when you're going for investment, the investors like to see that you've hurt a little bit, that you're hurting, that you've put your heart and soul into something. Because if you haven't, why are they investing in it? It doesn't matter even if the spreadsheets work out. If you're not passionate about it, then they're not passionate about it. So they want to see that sweat equity. They want to see that you've hurt and that you've worked hard on it. And so looking from taking that example from business down into a crowdfunder on your first outing, people should see that you've worked hard to get to where you are right now, and so therefore they can trust your commitment to that project, to their product that they're going to have in their hands at the end of the day, and so they'll put their hard-earned money down and back you. So there's all kinds of good reasons for the way Joe's managing this. I totally applaud what he's doing. In this game, I'm going to say this straight. In this game, there are a lot of flaky people.
Mm-hmm.
In entertainment, there are a lot of flaky people.
Yeah, entertainment in general, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really good to team up with people that are passionate and also functional. That they can, they can make something happen. And you see that in success. You see the people that are succeeding. Now, I'm not just talking about people who are getting millions of dollars. I'm talking about people who are turning over, 10, 15, $20,000 for a solid crowd-funded comic campaign that wasn't happening 5 years ago. And they're bringing their product to market, and their support, and they're, responding to the support from their backers and giving a quality product. Talking of which, will the books or any of the add-on items be signed? Well, certainly the artwork will be signed. That's if we go full traditional. I'm sure there will be some, at least traditional pages, whether it's every page or not, and all of the turnarounds will be traditional art. So they'll all be signed on the back by me and then shipped over to Joe. Obviously, I'll be scanning them in and cleaning them up and giving them to InkSpot via Joe. But the actual physical artwork will be. As for anything else, I think that might be awkward. Because obviously we're on the different side of a planet.
Yeah,
unless I've got a really long arm,
continents.
So I think the trouble with that is the postage, because you've got to send it backwards and forwards to people, or you'd have to have things printed up in two places, which kind of doubles your print, because you're not going to get a discount for volume then in the same way. We'll have to see. I think maybe, for instance, if it was additional stuff, say like if we were talking trading cards, we could get the trading cards printed over here. I could sign them and then send them in a package to you, so you wouldn't be paying huge amounts of shipping between into business between us. But I think that all comes down to budgets and backers and what people want.
Yeah, again, it really is going to come down to what customers want and how expensive it will be to make that happen. I'm very open to trying to be as accommodating as possible for customer requests, and price really isn't a limiting factor in my mind in terms of, I'm not going to spend $10,000 to make that happen. Are you crazy? I mean, for me, I just look at it as, if customers want it and we can crowdfund it together, then let's do it. Yeah. That's what I love so much about crowdfunding, is it's exciting and empowering, in my opinion, to be in an environment where the customers get to decide what's good. The customers get to decide what happens or what doesn't happen. As long as there are creators who are paying attention and who are asking them, hey, what do you guys want? Oh, that's what you want? Okay, well, here's the research I've done. Here's how much it costs. What do you guys think? Can we do it? Can we raise the funds to make that happen? Oh, we can? Okay, then I'll be happy to do it. So if it's the sort of thing where, like, I have to fly my happy Thunderbuns over to England and Russ and I, sign stuff, or I fly him over to the US so that we can sign stuff, the stuff like that, I'm very much open to. It really all just depends on what customers want, how much funding can we raise to pay for it, and then let's work out the schedule. That's kind of where it is with stuff like that for me.
Just a note on the art, because I think I can do this. You can see the table here, so I've got the rostrum camera set up here.
Oh, nice.
But also just here you can just see some inspiration up in front of the board.
Nice.
So that's kind of, like I say, that the idea is to have looser inks. Same kind of line definition, same kind of technical content, but loosen the lines up even further with brushwork. So and that will be hopefully that traditional artwork that we're talking about getting signed. So
absolutely. Not My Monkeys, Not My Circus said you could do a Doug and pre-sign of pages inserted into the finished comic. Yes. Yeah, that's definitely one of the options. The printers call those tip-in sheets, and that is definitely an option for us. If if it's the kind of thing where customers want both of us to sign the book and we don't have the funds to like get us both in the same location and sign it all at the same time, then one alternative would be to have a tip-in sheet where, let's say, he wants a lamp stream. It was only a matter of time, Russ. It's either going to be a lamp stream or a chair stream. The chat they always want one of the two, sometimes both. So I don't know. I don't know how you feel about such things on your channel. On Fultonland, it's a possibility. Maybe we do a chair stream. Maybe we do a lamp stream. Maybe we get the chair and the lamp in the frame at the same time and just step back and watch what happens. There might be some chemistry. I don't know. But as far as the signing goes, yeah, I'm open to kind of all possibilities and whatever it takes from a funding perspective. As long as we can raise the funds, then I'm open to trying to make it happen.
Yeah, if there's enough people that want it, then you can make it happen. That's what it comes down to. Right. I think that's us all chatted out, isn't it?
I think so. We certainly went longer than we expected, but I had a good time. I hope you guys in the chat had a good time as well.
So that's our inaugural show. Obviously, most of it was given over to the Outliers, where we plan to go with it. Not the boring stuff like what we're doing with the show, because obviously we mentioned something about that. But what we will be doing is we're having a plan for the show. So this was pretty much just a general sort of, here we are, this is what we got, this is where we're going. Thank you very much for turning up. Have you got any questions? But in the future, we'll be having show plans. So we will have a topic, and quite often we'll have a guest as well. And we'll be able to formulate the show a little bit more. But always the most important thing is that we have you guys chatting to us, because that's what this is all about. I've been very fortunate to find my way to a bunch of great people, including Joe. And I don't like the word community, because it's been weaponized so often by other people. But it is a community. It's a community of people like-minded who love comics and good entertainment. And it's great. It's just great to have these kind of shows and reach out to people. So many people in the chat. Joe, for instance, are just like thousands of miles away from me. And I'm sitting here in my little dungeon drawing away to myself. And it's so cool to be able to reach out to those people, to backers and to people that come on and watch the show or talk to us or whatever, and have that interaction. So thanks everybody for turning up. And I promise that next week, when we will be on Fultonland rather than this channel, I'm not saying I'm never going to stream, because I'm sure there will be opportunities. I certainly will be trying to do some more. I think I might be doing a new streaming thing just for artwork. So it'll probably be Enter the Dojo, and it might be on a Monday night, but it's not going to be definite regular, because it's just me drawing, and it's kind of boring, really. And so I can't, because I'm getting old, I can't do too many things at once. So drawing and talking to people is a bit difficult. So it's difficult to entertain people while drawing, but I will try my best. But definitely from now on, this show will be on Joe's channel, Fultonland. And we'll have, I think we're going to have some good shows. We're going to have some good topics and some great guests. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so every Thursday U.S. time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That will be the schedule every week. If something crazy happens where we can't do a show, then we'll either reschedule or we'll just skip to the next week. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, if you guys want to make this a part of your regular viewing or listening habit, we'll certainly do our best to entertain you and bring some useful information to your eyes and ears. And we're really looking forward to see where we go from here.
Cool. So for those people who don't know us, do you tell everybody where people can find you?
Yeah, so I'm going to put in the chat, I'm on Twitter at Right Side Up. There it is for Twitter. On YouTube, we've got Fultonland and Outlier Comics, which currently have zero content, but I'm going to be working over the weekend to try and change that. And after this live stream has been processed by YouTube, then Russ is going to kindly let me have a copy of it, and I can put it up on the Fultonland channel. Once again, Outlier Comics, that channel will be solely dedicated to Outlier Comics content. So things like Russ drawing the book or drawing illustrations related to the book, we'll put up on that channel in addition to Comic Book Black Belt. And then Fultonland will be for everything else. Cool.
Okay, and you can find me at russleach.com or comicbookblackbelt.com. I'm pretty much on all the silly outlets out there like Facebook and Twitter and some of the others as well that I'd probably be arrested for being on. But you can find me on all of those. But if you go to russleach.com or comicbookblackbelt.com, you can get to pretty much everything from there. You can also find out more about Only Death Can Save Us, my current book, at onlydeathcansaveus.com. And the book is still available on Indiegogo in demand. That's about it from us, I think. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for turning up to my little channel. And we'll see you all, hopefully, again next week. And we'll post a topic before we do it so that you know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Thanks again, everybody. We really appreciate you.
Really, really good. Thank you so much, everyone, for turning up. Thank you. Das Vidania.